sharing with you in this video 10 ways to increase your productivity and achieve your goals faster. Because the truth is that I do believe that if you apply the 10 things that I'm going to be sharing with you in this video, you will have a higher probability of being able to see the things that you want to see happen in your life actually happen. I really think that we walk through life and we want to work harder than we actually have to. So we don't understand that precision and efficiency and making an action more productive can be more worth your time than putting in higher amounts of work and higher amounts of effort. Really, the more effort that you put in, I find what you'll learn over time is how to be more precise, how to be more efficient, how to not make it so that you need to be working extra hard and then you're not getting a return on that effort. Any effort that you put into your life, wouldn't you want to get a good return on that effort? Wouldn't you want to see an actual return on the investment of time or money that you're putting in? And I'm going to be sharing with you in this video how to make your actions more precise, more efficient, and essentially more productive. So the first thing that I want to share with you in this video in terms of the first way to increase your productivity and achieve your goals faster is to really understand that it's about commitment over feeling. Because a lot of the times, I'm going to tell you that one of the biggest lessons that I've personally learned the last few years is to understand that you're not going to feel like taking action a lot of the time. Feelings and motivation should not be an indicator of how committed you are. Your commitment and your willingness to take action should not depend on your feeling. Willingness has very little to do with feeling and self-doubt and fear. Willingness has little to do with how scared you are or how you feel or any doubts that you have or how concerned you are. Willingness has nothing to do with any of that. Willingness is simply, here's the question. You might be scared, you might be worried, but the question is, are you willing to just simply do the thing that you know you have to do anyways in order to get the result? Are you just simply willing to do it anyway? So I think that if we can walk through our life and just simply be willing to take action, regardless of how we feel, that's going to be the first thing that I think we need to be productive. That's what I've found personally in my life, is that if I have a plan, if there's a structure that I've created in my life, if there's a decision that I made to be a certain person, how I feel really is just the past. It's just the past, really. The self-doubt on the way to the new vision, that's the past. That has nothing to do with who you're trying to be presently and who you're becoming for the future. But in the future is really now, so it's who you're being now. Right? Because the future exists in the present moment as how you imagine it, right? You imagine the future in the present moment, and the present moment is, of course, the only moment that exists. But when you're walking through your life and you feel like you shouldn't do something, you need to remember your commitment to the plan. Remember why you're doing what it is that you're doing. Remember the reason that you're taking action in the first place. It's very easy to forget why you're taking action, why you're trying to do what you're doing, and you just kind of forget. You forget the plan, you forget the vision, and you have to remember this as you're going through life. So don't focus on the feeling, focus on the commitment to the plan and the structure. And then what you'll often find anyway is that you feel better as you commit and as you take action, because you build momentum towards your desire and you start to feel more excited towards the vision as you commit, as you take action. So the second way to increase your productivity and achieve your goals faster is, in my personal opinion, to remove perfectionism. Because in my personal opinion, perfectionism, what happens is that while you're trying to be perfect, while you're trying to make it perfect and make it exactly how you think it should be and make it amazing, what's happening is that it's really bad, because others have already created significantly more than you. They've taken significantly more action than you. So while you're thinking about things being perfect, there's other people in the world that have already done 5 times the amount of work, 10 times the amount of work, and they're already getting results. And maybe the actions that they took weren't perfect. Maybe they made a lot of mistakes. Maybe there was a lot of error Maybe there was a lot of issues, but nonetheless, they took more action than you. They didn't, and that should really upset you, not in a way where it's like you feel resentful or angry or jealous, but you should be upset to the point where that motivates you to take action. I'm not saying to, base your action on a state of being upset or guilty or shameful towards yourself about who you are, not having a certain level of self-acceptance. That's not really what I'm inviting any person to do. What I'm saying is that if you're seeing somebody else take 10 times, 20 times more action than you because you're a perfectionist, that's a problem. That's a problem that I think we need to look at. We need to really investigate within ourselves if we're allowing other people to exceed our level of how powerful we can be because we're trying to make things perfect. So don't let somebody else take 20 times, 30 times, 50 times more action than you, get much more success than you because you're attached to things being perfect. Because you want it to be perfect and it has to be amazing and it has to be exactly how you think it should be. Like, try to remove all of this from your life and just try to make it where it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, yes, try to strive. I believe in striving for perfectionism. I believe in trying to make things, again, as beautiful, as amazing as possible, as close to perfectionism as we can make it. But understand that ultimately speaking, perfectionism, nothing is really perfect. Perfectionism is an illusion. It's not actually real. Nothing is perfect because everything does have a certain degree of not being perfect. But we can strive towards being the best version of ourselves, improving. Striving towards perfectionism and attaching to things being perfect are different. You can strive towards perfectionism for sure. You can strive towards things looking as perfect as possible, towards how it looks. Looks do kind of matter in a sense, because if you're going to say looks don't matter at all, they kind of do matter. Things do matter. How things look, how you present things do actually matter, but it doesn't have to be perfect. The degree to which you want something to be perfect should not stop you from taking action to the point where other people are taking more action than you because they're not as attached to perfectionism as you. Now, the third way to increase your productivity and achieve your goals faster is to understand that I really believe a strong thing that you can do to do that is to stay aligned with your values, especially when things get tough. Because there's going to be so many times in your life where, again, you might not feel like going towards your plan. To go back to the first point, you might have a life situation that's tough. You might be stressed. You might be worried. You might be concerned about why you can't be that person that you decided to be. You might be very concerned. You might be worried, right? Things might actually get tough. You might be like, this time it's tough. I have a good reason as to why I can't be that person, right? There's a very good reason, right? Strong reason, and you're very attached to that. You could be very attached to that. It's a possibility, right? I'm not saying you are. It's a possibility. And I think that when it gets tough, when things happen that are not easy, that's when it's going to be of the utmost importance to stay aligned with your values, the decision that you made to be the person that you said you were going to be. What values do you live by? What beliefs do you want to stand by in your life? How do you want to be? How do you want to show up? And when things contradict that, when people might test you, when life will test you, when it becomes very tough, right? When the devil, if you want to call it that, tries to come to you and to convince you why you can't be the person that you want to be, you need to look at that and say, I'm still going to be the person that I decided. Because you decide who you want to be. It's not that others should influence you to the point where you now go against your values. Others influencing you is inevitable. You have influence over others, they have influence over you. That's totally fine. But we shouldn't influence each other so much to the point where we need to sacrifice our values and who we want to be. I wouldn't invite and encourage you to take actions that are not aligned with your values when things get tough in your life. It's like, because things are tough now, I'm going to go against my values. I'm going to go against who I want to be, and I'm not going to be the person that I want. I think that's a huge problem. I think that's a huge recipe for an issue for you not to be the person that you actually want to be in your life, because that's a huge problem. That's going to stop you from becoming the character that you want in your life. If you want to be a person that has character traits that you don't even resonate with, that you're kind of acting, you're copying people in a way where, not in a way where you're taking what resonates, you're acting like a phony. You're being a fake person in a sense, because that's what a fake person is that, it's not that there's an issue with taking character traits from other people or being some type of way. It's that you can take what resonates from people and then let go of what doesn't resonate. But if you're embodying a character trait that you don't resonate with because of whatever belief that you've adopted, that you have to do that you have to go against your beliefs, that you have to go against your values, that you just can't be the person that you want to be, like it's necessary for me to go against my values in this case, then that's a huge problem, because there's always a choice. You always have an ability to choose. And I understand that life is life. I understand that circumstances can get tough. I understand that things can make it seem like you can't be aligned with the truth, that you can't be aligned with who it is that you want to be. But I invite and encourage you to try your best to just go back to you being in power. Remember to take control of what you can control and let go of what you can't. Be willing to focus on your values, who you want to be. And then when it gets tough, especially when it gets tough, that's when you want to double down on your values. Don't second guess yourself. Double down on who you said you're going to be when it gets tough. That's my invitation to you. I know that's tough. I know it might be a bold thing to do. And I'm not saying to be unwise or to take that information at face value and copy it because I said it. Trust yourself in what you think is right, but see it for yourself. Are you the type of person that goes against your values when it gets tough? And I would ask you why. Why is that the case? And is there an alternative? Now, the fourth thing that I want to share with you in this video, in terms of how to really increase your productivity and achieve your goals faster, is to understand that I really do believe that we need to stop doing things alone. We have to stop this idea that we're going to do it alone. I think that idea is really loaded with a lot of misinformation, because the truth is that you're never really doing anything alone in your life. If somebody wants to walk around in their life and think that they're independent, that they're just going to do it alone, that concept to me is, an interesting thing to look at, because it's like, are we really alone? Are we really alone in our life? Are we actually alone? Because we're an interconnected species where we cannot actually be alone. We are interdependent with each other. Is it not the case? Is it not the case that every single human being is connected with every single other human being? And if you even want to decide that you want to run away and go meditate in a cave, let me ask you a question. Where did you learn that technique? Where did you get that idea? That idea you probably picked up from another person, not to mention that we came out of our parents. We came out of our parents, and we couldn't even exist. Even to exist is a miracle, because even to exist means that you had to come out of your parents. And I know that sounds interesting to say it like that, but doing things alone is almost an idea that I think, again, is interesting, because, again, are we really doing things alone? Are we actually alone in our life? I think that it's important for me. The most success that I've ever been able to create in my life, when I felt the most peace, when I felt the most supported, when I felt the happiest, when I felt the most excited about my vision and who it is that I want to be, it was when I, personally looking back at every experience in my life, it's when I decided that I don't have to do it alone, that I'm not alone, that I have support systems, that I have people that can help me, right? I think family values are important. If you have family, you should reach out to them. I think that remembering that we don't have to do it alone can enable us to really put us in a position where we're not attached to our ego, because the ego believes it has to do it alone. And I'm telling you right now, if I look back at my whole life, any time that I've had the most suffering, the most misery, and the most resistance is when I had a belief system that I needed to do it alone, that I had to be by myself, that I was alone, but that was never the case. And I think that if we believe this, that's going to stop our productivity. If you want to increase your productivity and achieve your goals faster, I invite and encourage you to remember to stop doing it alone. And if you have that belief, to remember that comes from your ego. That comes from your ego. And to invite and encourage to work with people around you. Stop doing it alone. Ask for help. Have support systems. Have people in your life that you can actually depend on. Do you have dependable people in your life? In every single area, if you have dependable people, you're going to feel like it's easier to be productive. If you have people around you in your circle, in your network that you can depend on, that are actually, you can truly feel like they are dependable, I think your productivity will go up. I think that you're going to be able to achieve your goals faster. I think that you're going to make it easier for yourself because you do kind of become like the 5 people that you surround yourself with the most. Life is a give and take, and you're going to exchange information with the people that you surround yourself with. And if you stop doing it alone and ask for support, even if that person is totally different than you actually, and they might just have something to offer you, don't do it alone even in that case. You don't need to do it alone. I think doing it with people is easier. Support systems are better. For me, the classic example is, even if you look at something as simple as a house, building a structure, how would you even do that alone? That's like, if you look at some tasks in life, in order for some things to be created, excuse me, it requires a certain level of letting go of your ego completely and understanding that some things can't happen alone. Like building a house, building an amazing structure is a multi-person job. That takes combined efforts, that takes combined forces, that takes independent thinkers that are all independent to come together to build something powerful. And they all had to let go of their ego and remember that they shouldn't have to do it alone. Why should somebody build a house alone if they can have a team of people that are on the same page with an aligned vision to create the same thing? That's very powerful stuff. Now, the 5th thing that I want to share with you in this video, in terms of the 5th way to increase your productivity and achieve your goals faster, is to, yes, it's connected to the 4th point, but it's to be willing to listen to others. To be willing to listen to others, because sometimes, we just want to listen to ourselves. We just think that we have it all figured out, that we can just think about it by ourselves, and that's going to be enough. I'm sorry to tell you that you thinking about it by yourself is not going to be enough. You do want to have feedback from the outside world. You do want to look at the outside world and not be attached to it. I'm not saying to, just be a people pleaser. And I'm not saying to but you need to look at the outside world and see that there's feedback happening to you in your life. There's stuff happening, and you can take that information and listen to it and become better, or you can resist it and be a person that resists the present moment and doesn't become better. Like, it's pretty simple stuff. But the key is to listen to others. Even if you disagree with them, even if you don't like what they're saying, it's best to listen. Be willing to listen to your own body, of course, to the present moment, to what's happening in the present moment, but more importantly to other people. Because how often are you talking in a conversation and you're just waiting for your turn to speak? Most people don't have enough patience, enough presence to just let a person finish what they're saying. And then there's too much willingness for you to want to say what you want to say. And if you're not willing to listen to others, I think that's going to stop your productivity. And that's a whole separate point, of course, that I shared. But what I mean is, if you want to increase your productivity, what I mean by listening to others is be open to feedback. Be open to criticism. Be open to listening to what somebody has to say. Because what they have to say could change your life. Even if you disagree with it, that could be good information. And if you absolutely agree with it, that's good information too. So the willingness to listen to others, I think, will be correlated with your productivity and your ability to achieve your goals faster. Because I think that if we're too close-minded, if we think we have to figure it all out by ourselves, that we can't listen to others, that's going to be a limitation to be more productive, to achieve your goals faster. So how willing are you to listen to others as you go throughout your day? How willing are you to let go of your ego, drop your close-mindedness, and listen to the perspective that other people have to offer? That's what I would invite and encourage you to do. So the 6th way to increase your productivity and achieve your goals faster, I think, is a really powerful concept, because what I want to share with you is to control what you can control and surrender to what you can't control. And that might seem like a simple concept, but I want you to look at your day and think about how many things are happening in your day that you simply cannot control, and you resist that. You fight that, and you stress over that, and you're talking about all these issues, and you complain about it, and you maybe even gossip about it. You maybe even call your friends about it, and you resist it, and you tell them how bad it is, and you explain all these problems about how bad your life is, and it's like, but it's often things that we can't control. Now, if there's something that we can control in our life, I would invite and encourage you to take full responsibility of that and to take complete control over that situation. Because why would you stress about something that you can't control in your life? Like, it just doesn't make sense. I think that the wiser choice to make is to control the variables that you can control. You can definitely control the actions that you take. You can control, to the best of your abilities, the thoughts that you're thinking. And if you can't control your thoughts, you can definitely control your awareness behind your thoughts and to give energy to the thoughts that you resonate with. Because your thoughts are passing by. If there's an idea or a concept that you don't like, you can choose to not act upon that idea. That's the difference between an intelligent human being and an animal, is that you get to choose what you act upon and others don't. So when you have a negative thought that comes into your life or in your mind or a negative situation, you maybe can't control that negative thought. I understand that. But you can definitely control not acting upon it. You can definitely control being conscious of it. You can definitely control not attached to that thought and then taking action anyway towards your vision. If you have a thought of self-doubt, you maybe can't control if that thought of self-doubt comes up. I can understand that. I can understand that you can't control your emotions sometimes. Maybe you feel emotional. Maybe a thought comes up. Maybe you're resisting. Maybe you even can't control your own resistance coming up. I can understand that. But you can control taking action anyway. You can control ignoring the resistance, taking action anyway towards your vision, proving the resistance wrong, finding that taking action made you feel better. You can prove that to yourself enough times where now you create a positive feedback loop where every single time that you go against the resistance and you take action anyway and you take control of the variables that you can control, you build just a little bit more self-trust, just a little bit more positivity, a positive feedback loop. Every single time you feel quote unquote depressed or negative or in some type of state where you feel like you lack motivation, and then you take action anyway and you feel better after, you're gonna build trust just a little bit more to prove to yourself that when you feel resistance, you can snap yourself out of that and feel better. And you have control over that. And you control that by letting go of what you can't control and taking action towards what you can control. A person that looks like they're controlling a lot of things in their life is really a person that's good at letting go of what they can't control. Because remember, even in a business, let's say, there's many variables you can't control. You definitely cannot control really how much money you make in your business. You can't control that. You can control how much action you take towards your business. You can control how much time you allocate towards your business. You can control how much work you get done for your business, but you can't control how much money you make. You can't control the results that you get in your life. That's fine. But you can control how committed you are to your vision. You can control the actions that you take. You can definitely control ignoring the thoughts that don't resonate for you. That's something you can control. If you feel like something's happening that's out of your control, accept that. Accept that and think to yourself, what can I do in this moment that I can control? What is going to make me feel more empowered? What is going to make me feel more in control of my life? And then do that. Do that instead. That's going to make you more productive. That's going to help you to get your goals faster. Being a victim is not going to help you get your goals any faster. Resisting and feeling guilt and shame about wanting something is not going to help you get your goals faster. Stressing over something that you have no control over is not going to help you get your goals faster. So the seventh thing that I want to share with you in this video in terms of the seventh way to increase your productivity and achieve your goals faster is to understand that I would invite and encourage you to do everything consciously and fully. Do it consciously, because honestly, I think that we're going to make mistakes in our life. There's going to be problems. If you're the type of person that takes relentless action and you're a bold person, you take action against your fear consistently, I'm going to tell you that you're going to make mistakes. There's going to be problems. You're going to have a lot of pain and suffering and resistance, and challenges are going to happen. Now, that's fine in my opinion, because pain and resistance and suffering and challenges are going to happen anyway. And the way that I see it, you may as well be a massive action taker, because if you're a massive action taker, you're still going to have pain and resistance and problems and challenges, except you're going to get more results in your life than the average person, simply because you have a willingness to take action. And I choose that path for sure. But the key that I think is that even when we make mistakes, which you're going to make mistakes and you're going to have challenges, at least you can do it consciously and you can do it fully to learn your lessons faster. Because if somebody is half committed if they're half conscious, if they're not present to the moment, and they don't feel the pain of the mistake, they're more likely to do the mistake again. See, what happens is that a person that truly is conscious with the mistakes that they make, and they feel the pain of the mistake, and they don't run away from the mistake, and they're not afraid of the truth, these people learn their lessons and they don't do the mistake ever again. But if somebody doesn't do that, what happens is that they keep doing the same thing over and over. See, when you look at a person and they keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results, and they're causing suffering to themselves, it's because they're not fed up with the pain. And this is why you're not productive. This is why a person is not productive. This is why a person doesn't achieve their goals, is because they're still okay with where they're at. You need to become so painful with, have so much pain associated with where you're at, that you have to become better. You have to improve your life. You need to be better. You need to make it so that there's no option for you not to improve. And when you put yourself in that position, you have to be better. You have to be the best. You have to improve, because if you're still complacent, if you're still okay with where you are, you're not going to be happy. And I think that doing things consciously, doing things fully, is really a good way to let go of these negative traits that you don't like. So if there's a negative trait about yourself that you don't like, one technique to remove it from your life is not to try to really even commit to a new identity just yet. As you know, I talk about in my videos a lot. Yes, you can commit to a new intention. Yes, you can commit to the identity and then take action towards the self-doubt. But another technique that you can do if you want to try this, which is, I'm not really inviting and encouraging this necessarily, but if you want to try it, you can. When you feel like you're doing a mistake or you're being something that you don't like to be, do it fully. Do it consciously. See and be conscious of what you're getting from that. Just be aware of it. Don't try and analyze it consciously. Just be present with that trait that you don't like. Be conscious of it. And at some point, if you're truly conscious of it and you truly don't like it, you'll just stop. You realize, why am I doing this to myself? I don't like this. You realize that you're consciously doing it. You're the one choosing to do it. Because again, you can choose to control things that you can control. How you act is definitely within your control. You don't need to act in any way you don't like to act unless you believe that you have to. A lot of times I think that we walk through life and we believe that we have to do things that we don't have to do. And if you do that consciously, you'll realize wait, I do have a choice. I don't have to do this. Right? Because if you're doing it unconsciously, you feel like you're kind of in this haze of having to do it, and it's like you need to do it, and there's no choice, there's no free will. Do it consciously, and you realize that I do have free will. Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I putting this pain on myself? When you do things consciously, you take back your power. You take back your responsibility, your ability to respond to the situation, and you see that the pain that you're taking, that you're experiencing, you take responsibility that you're doing that to yourself. And even if it's something that you're not doing to yourself, you look at the resistance that you're adding on top of the situation, you let go of that, and you control the resistance that you can control. You can't control if there's a lot of resistance happening in your life, if a lot of things are negative. You can control, though, how much you resist the resistance and how much you accept that negativity until it goes away. Because the only way out of something is through. And if you can't move through it, you can't move away from it. And you can move away from it and avoid it. The art of avoidance is powerful, but only if you accept it fully first and accept that it exists. You can't deny something in existence. You can only see it and choose not to look at it if you choose to do so, but you cannot deny it as a part of existence. You cannot dishonor it as a part of existence. You can honor something, thank it, appreciate it, and then move on. But you can't deny it as a part of existence. With this being said, if you control what you can control and let go of the variables that you can't, I think that that's going to make you more productive. Now, the eighth thing that I want to share with you in this video, in terms of the eighth way to increase your productivity and achieve your goals faster, is to be willing to make quick and bold decisions. Be willing to make quick and bold decisions, because there's going to be a lot of times where you don't have a lot of time to think a lot about which choice to make. You have to just make a choice. And I'm not inviting and encouraging you just to, talk about this point, to be unwise, to be a person that's not going to consider the pros and the cons of a situation. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying to not consider the pros and cons of a situation. But what I'm saying is that sometimes overthinking is only going to add resistance to the problem, to your life situation. It's only going to add more resistance. So what you want to do is simply be willing to make a choice to not feel that resistance. I think that sometimes what happens is that we walk through life and the ability to not make a choice causes a lot of suffering. And then sometimes making a choice can be the solution to remove that suffering. And even if it's the wrong choice, even if you make mistakes, even if you learn that that was not the right choice to make, what happens is that if you're willing to just be okay with that consequence and make the choice anyway, you're going to be a person that learns very fast. You're going to learn your lessons very fast. You might experience more lessons than the average person, but you're going to learn those lessons very fast. And that's what's going to build your intelligence and build your wisdom. How does a person become more wise? How do you build wisdom? Like, what is even wisdom? What is this airy-fairy concept? It's like wisdom. Like, what do you even call wisdom? Wisdom is nothing more than your ability to make a quick choice, own that choice fully, be okay with the consequences, and then learn from those consequences by taking action. Instead of thinking about what choice is right, which choice is wrong, you don't see any choices right or wrong. You just see that you make a choice and you see what happens. And of course, that there is right and wrong. Don't get me wrong. I do believe that there is right and wrong. You can't just say that, everything is in the bigger picture, nothing is good or bad. That's true. I do think that's true to a degree. From a certain perspective, that is true. From another perspective, we have to remember that you can make a wrong choice in your life, but you have to accept that sometimes you might. Not judge yourself for that, not resist that, not feel guilty about that or shameful about that. You need to forgive yourself for all the wrong choices that you made in your life that you believe are wrong. And then what happens is that be willing to make a quick and bold decision and move forward. Move forward from your life. Move forward into a new world. Don't attach to any negative choice that you've made. And then in any moment where you feel like you're stagnated, where you're resisting, if you feel like committing and being bold and making a choice can help you to get out of that stagnation, then just do it. I'm not going to make a choice for you. I'm not going to invite and encourage you to, I'm not going to be the person to make choices for you. But if you really feel it, then just do it. Just make a choice and see what happens. Because from that space, and again, I'm not going to be responsible for your decisions here. But what I'm saying is that if you can do that, that's going to help you to build your wisdom, to be more productive, and to achieve your goals faster, I think. I do believe. Now, the ninth thing that I want to share with you in this video, in terms of the ninth way to increase your productivity and achieve your goals faster, is to eliminate decision-making fatigue. And again, just be committed to your decisions. Be committed to who you want to be. Eliminate decision-making fatigue and then live your life with structure. Because what happens is that if you have structure, if you have an actual structure to your life, what's going to happen is that the amount of time that you spend thinking about which choice to make will be lessened down. It will be reduced. And to me, that's a much more peaceful way to live. See, the irony of it all is that if you want to feel freedom in your life, you want to feel totally free, like you have freedom and liberty, and you feel like you can be who you want to be, and you feel very, very open and all these types of amazing things, and you feel love, right? How do you feel free in life? Within a structure. You need structure to feel free. You cannot have freedom without structure. That's what I think people forget. And I think that a lot of freedom can happen within high levels of discipline and structure. So if you want to feel like you have very little capacity wasted on what's the right choice and what choice did I make, commit to a structure. Be very committed to a structure. What you'll find is that you spend less time thinking. You spend less time thinking and you're just taking action all the time. Because if you take committed, bold actions towards a structure, you become a person that just does that all the time. You just take action. You just are the person that takes action, and you don't think about which actions are wrong too much because you already thought about the plan. Instead of thinking about which plan is the best, commit to a plan. Just something. Commit to a plan. You'll find that your decision-making fatigue goes down. See, I don't know how it is for you, but for me personally, there's not one of my pet peeves, and what gives me so much suffering and such high levels of stress and anxiety is decision-making fatigue. Because if I'm thinking too much about which choice I should make and this, and it's like, am I making the right choice? It's like all of that, I start to feel guilt and feel shame and start to feel negativity, because it's like, I know that I could be using that time to take action. And I think that time is of the utmost value. Like, what is the highest currency? It's your time. Your time, you will never get back in your life. Your money will go back and forth. Your money will flow. Things will flow. The items, the physical, tangible items in your life will flow and change. But your time is your highest commodity. It's your most important asset. So if you're going to waste time thinking about which choice to make, you don't value your time clearly. I think that a person that values their time commits to structures. I think that people that value time don't waste their time thinking about which choices to make. They make choices and they commit to them. That's what I think a person that values their time does. I think that a person that values their time makes committed choices and acts in accordance with those choices, and then they change as needed. They change the structure as necessary, but they choose a structure and they commit. Now, the 10th thing that I want to share with you, the 10th way to increase your productivity and achieve your goals faster, is really a really powerful concept, which is be willing to see zero results and continue taking action. This is what you call delayed gratification. See, most people want overnight success, and I think that overnight success can happen. I think that you can achieve success overnight, but that's going to happen with consistent action over a long period of time while you're getting zero results. I think that we need to be okay with getting zero results over a very long period of time. That's what's going to help you to really increase your productivity and achieve your goals faster. If you want to achieve your goals faster and be more productive, just take consistent action over a long period of time instead of lots of action in a short period of time, followed by no action over a long period of time. That makes no sense. You might feel motivated enough to take action for a few days, but can you do that for multiple months and multiple years? And do that without getting any results, no validation, no approval, nobody clapping their hands, nobody telling you how good you are. You just silently take action every single day. Every single day you're committed, nobody commends you, nobody tells you how amazing you are, you just do it anyway, you do the work. You're bored, you feel self-doubt, you feel resistance, you feel like some days, excuse me, you don't know if you're doing it correctly, but you do it anyway. That's what I think creates success. I think that success in any area comes from the willingness to take action when there's no results. The willingness to continue taking action when you're feeling self-doubt and there's nothing happening externally. Because that's going to happen a lot. You're going to go through your life and there's going to be many times where you have nothing happening in the external. The question is, are you willing to just do it anyway, do the work anyway, to consistently take action anyway, even when nothing is happening? That's going to be the difference between somebody that creates massive success in their life and massive results in their life and somebody that doesn't, just simply doesn't. There's two types of people. There's people that take action through that process while nothing is happening, and there's somebody that doesn't have the patience and the willingness to do it anyway, and they don't get the result. If you can simply become a person that is willing to take action while there's no results happening, you're gonna almost always get the results that you want in your life, because you're not dependent on the external world to be the person that you want to be. You choose who you want to be regardless of what's